Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's our most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And let's get to see whether the proposals that the Movement for Change, Alan Kyerematen's movement, are making realistic proposals that we can actually look at and sort of force the parties to look in that direction in the campaign. Nana Heninto is senior advisor to Alan Kyerematen, and then Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Sia Kofi Adams, is still here with us. Nana Heninto, thank you very much. And I've been reading this 81-page book, and that's my view of it. I think the ideas in there, the policies that you seem to enunciate in there, resonate with Ghanaians. Somebody will say, first you must win power to be able to implement them. Let's look at just the governance aspects, what you seek to do. What informs this document? And we hardly have independent presidential candidates bring up documents like this.
Hello, Thompson.
Yes.
What's your question again?
This may be the first time we are seeing independent presidential candidates do such a thorough job with such far-reaching proposals, most of which resonate with the people. The governance aspect, what informs the ideas and policies that you seek to implement from there?
Right, Thompson, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to discuss the great transformational plan which Honorable Alan John Kyerematen, independent candidate for the December 7, 2024 presidential election, has come up with. Earlier on, I was following your discussion when you mentioned it and you kept calling it a manifesto. I think I would have to insist that this is not a manifesto. This is a plan, because typically what manifestos do is just to give you a set of promises and give you just little hints of how, even in fact the how doesn't really come up in many cases. They tend to be a set of promises. But when you take this document, which Honorable Alan Kyerematen has prepared, it gives you both the issue and the solution. So that is why we call this a plan. It is policy prescription, policy solution. So that is how I want us to look at this whole discussion. And with your permission, before I answer your question directly, I'm sure this matter will come up. I heard you discussing with the panel in the studio the issues of cement pricing and a committee to look at the development of cement and so on and so forth. I think when you get into the Alan Kyerematen plan, then you would understand that there is a way out, and that is not what the current government is pursuing. But having said that, to your question on governance, the whole transformation plan is about transforming the way our country, our government runs our country, both in terms of governance and in terms of the economy, in terms of social sector, and indeed the issue of the mentality of we ourselves as Ghanaians, as a society, the negativity that ought to be changed. And that is why Alan is calling this a plan for transformation. Now, when you look at the governance structure, cluster, there are a couple of pillars. As Alan puts it, there are a couple of pillars under the governance structure. First of all, you have the prescription to deal with corruption, the prescription to deal with public sector reform, the judiciary, executive, the Council of State, local government and decentralization, chieftaincy, national security and defense optimization, media, public information management and consultation, diplomatic and international relations, civil society organizations, economic governance, social governance, and constitutional reforms. Yeah, fortunately, I've just arrived at your premises, and I think I should be able to join you in the studio in a few seconds. So
right. So you just get in here, and so look, Haruna, they begin with corruption, and they accurately appreciate, and this is the governance cluster we are looking at. They accurately appreciate, as we are aware of, that 3 billion is not accounted for each year in this country. And anti-corruption organizations will say what that means is it is lost to corruption. We have heard even higher figures about that. They say they intend to amend the constitution and appoint an anti-corruption czar with independent prosecutorial power, separate from that of the Attorney General. Do you see a clear difference from Office of the Special Prosecutor? They are introducing an anti-corruption citizens charter requiring every person, as provided under Article 41F of the Constitution, to protect and preserve public property and expose and combat misuse and waste of corruption. Do you see this to be any much different from the non-implementation of the Whistleblowers Act? For example, there's a reward also there. They say they want to establish an anti-corruption reward scheme. The Whistleblowers has a reward scheme since it was passed 2006. That scheme is not there. They want to bring in some support, direct and indirect, for civil society, as in funds, to help them fight corruption.
Thank you very much, Samson. First and foremost, I would like to say good morning to your cherished viewers out there. Today is my first time of sitting in studio.
Live, yeah.
I've always joined via Zoom.
We are happy to have you here.
And also say good morning to my senior here, Honorable Kofi Adam, and yourself. I think that once we are moving into the mainstream of politics for the election 2024, all political parties, including independent persons who want to become president or become members of parliament, will try as much as possible to proffer some sort of solutions which has not yet been executed. Mm-hmm. You know, it is very easy to put plans on paper. But however you ask yourself, these persons that are putting these plans on paper, for example, Alan Kyerematen has not been denied the opportunity to be in government, both in President Kufuor's administration and also President Akufo-Addo's administration. He has been given a very big department in terms of how governance systems are run. And there is no problem for him to aspire to become president or to have a vision to become president and also to put plans down to be able to govern this country. If you look at the areas that he has analyzed in terms of corruption, I don't think that there is anything new in terms of what he's putting together. This is just English that has been put together to be able to help the Ghanaian people to be able to garnish it just as it is, because if it is a reward scheme, even in the police service, when a crime is committed, it is put out publicly that whoever is able to assist in terms of investigation and what have you is given a reward scheme. So it is not something that is new, but we welcome all these particular decisions or all these suggestions that people are bringing on board. But if you look at us as a party, because we are not in to discuss any presidential candidate, we are in to discuss our presidential candidate who stands tall among all of them. If you look at the elections of His Excellency the Vice President as the flag bearer of our party, he took the opportunity to tell the people of Ghana within a short period the vision that he has for the people of Ghana. And the fight against corruption is clearly indicated in this particular vision of His Excellency the Vice President and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. So looking at what they present, I don't think that it is something that we would have to debate them, because this is something they are putting on paper. But you look at His Excellency the Vice President, what has he offered in terms of governance system in fighting corruption as Vice President?
For today, it is what the Alan Kyerematen's team, that is the Movement for Change and the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, what they are proposing, that is bringing us to the discussion table today. I'm sure at another time we'll discuss Dr. Bawumia and what he also wants to do. Kofi, how do you see what they seek to do as far as the governance cluster is concerned?
Well, Samson, it's difficult to discuss what they seek to do.
40 ministers.
Without
40 ministers, they are going to cap the number of Supreme Court judges. This has been an ongoing debate for a long time. They are going to scrap
council,
the Council of State, whose advice is not binding on anybody. Yeah.
And like I said, it's difficult to discuss only what they seek to do without discussing what led to the existence of the movement. Samson, like Haruna said,
the two of you want to change the focus of the discussion.
They were in there. They took part. Key persons. Alan Kyerematen, ambassador, minister under President Kufuor, great president, minister under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. You're talking about Nano Hininto, general secretary, no small post, Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, MP, minister, and who, for the first time, to have a minister of state at the office of the vice president. We normally have minister of state, office of the president. We don't have minister of state, office of the vice president. It was the first time that we had a minister of state being appointed to the office of the vice president. That is Boniface Abubakar Sadiq. So for today, for Boniface to choose to leave all the benefits that he has as a member of the MPP and someone who would have worked so closely with Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia to support Alan Kyerematen knows how rotten and how low we've gotten to, and that he cannot put whatever little he has on Bawumia. That explains why he left. Of course, Bawumia Samoa, former MP, director of communication, no mean a person. Hope Senadoye, parliamentary candidate. So it is important, Samson, to discuss the genesis, why they have left.
Dr. Abu Sakara Foster.
For example, to say that what they think is the right thing to be done cannot be done in the MPP that exists today. And not with Bawumia and not with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Could you not rather say that this is an indication of the fact that they are moving away to be able to effect the change they want?
Because that change, you think that if this things they are talking about could be done by MPP, they will leave. Who will want to leave? Look, many of us have gone
You are still speaking, that's a feather in their cap.
I'm saying
that the MPP is not doing well, and that's why
the MPP is not doing well. That's why they are leaving. That's why they are leaving. The MPP has failed. And the MPP cannot deal with the situations that confront us. That is why they are leaving. And they have stated clearly what it is that they think that must be done. But now to the question, whether there is the capacity to be able to do what it is that they have stated they want to do.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
That's why I'm saying that they have stated what it is that must be done. They have come to a conclusion that the MPP cannot do it. And I agree with them clearly that they cannot do it because
that's their social contract with the electorate.
With the
so
electorate,
they
have failed and so on and so forth. So they cannot do it. But now, can the movement do what they say they can do? No.
Hey.
And I think that John Dramani Mahama will do a better job implementing, because many of the things they stated in there.
So let him highlight some of them for you. Okay. Let him highlight some of them for you. We are not into local governance decentralization is important to Ghanaians. The president was literally pushed to an idea that he had also supported many years in opposition, only to come into government wanting to do it by a certain political, means, and also seeking the amendment of an entrenched provision of the Constitution. When there's a provision that can easily be amended just by Parliament, you say that's what you are going, the low-hanging fruits, to make sure that there is a decentralization, district assembly, chief executives will be elected, and you don't need to go to a referendum to do that. I say, when I read your document, I'm seeing that the things that are popular with Ghanaians that previous governments have failed to do are the things that you have picked and polished and put in there.
Samson, thank you very much. Before I go to your substantive issues, let me quickly address the issue that my nephew here brought up. What's the name again? Aruna. Yes, and then of course.
I will propose that because of time constraints,
yeah,
let's focus on this.
Yeah, I know, but it's important. This is a very important platform.
Okay.
So when you get information out here, it goes quite far. Now, to say that what Alan has presented is just English, it really surprises me. I'm sure he hasn't had time to read this document. As I told you earlier on, as I came, I listened to you guys discussing the cement pricing issue and the mechanism that the government, the current government, seeks to use to try and bring down prices of cement. If you want to bring down prices of cement, few things Alan Kyerematen will tell you to do. Make sure your exchange rate is low. Your currency is stable. Your export earnings are growing. So you have enough foreign exchange to back whatever raw materials you may need to import from out there. Make sure you have removed nuisance taxes. Make sure your taxation regime and duties and so on are not inimical, they are not negative, they are not counterproductive to production. Now, when you do this, obviously you need regulation in the economy, you need regulation in any sector. But when you do this, you wouldn't need to use price control mechanisms, which is basically, if you look at critically what the government is trying to do now, it's basically price control in a liberalized market economy. That is just not going to work. So that is why Alan says you need to transform, and this is not just piecemeal change. That is why you read this document, and I'm happy you yourself conceded that it looks to you that this is a synthesis of possibly the best ideas that may have been floating around. Nobody is saying anybody is trying to create anything from thin air. No, these are issues and ideas that we know about. How come we have not implemented them? And I will tell you why. Kofi Adams is saying that it is not possible. These are good ideas. It cannot be implemented. You said we cannot do it.
Yes, you have proven not to have the capacity to do it.
So let me respond.
So I didn't say there's a difference.
Please, hold on.
No, there's
a
way difference.
I heard you, but I didn't interrupt you. Hold on. Can you imagine that a mother brings forth a child, and for whatever reason, another woman sitting somewhere says that I am a better person to mother your child, to breastfeed your child, to bring up your child than yourself? I mean, in a sense, it even sounds almost like an insult. The point is that Alan has told you, I am presenting something radical to Ghanaians. First, it has never been the case, and all of you are here, you can bear me out, that a person aspiring to be an independent president of Ghana has taken off the way Alan has taken off and has come as far as Alan has come. So far, there's been no example. There have been independent attempts at it. 2, even the political parties, well-established political parties, MPP, NDC, haven't even come up with their manifestos yet, 5 months to election. And the gentleman here is telling me he wants to discuss what Dr. Bawumia has. He hasn't put anything on the table yet, anyway.
Oh, that's not true.
He hasn't put anything on the table. He has said digitization. That's about it.
Let's
He's
document
been announcing a number of policies.
Yeah, okay.
though.
So, but I'm telling you, is the MPP's manifesto out? Has it been?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Of course,
So
they will
to
pick
that
the
extent.
old one, they will rehash it,
Okay.
the NDC
So
will do
you
the
see,
same.
when you, as a party, established for how many decades now, haven't been able to do what one individual with a very small team within weeks, if you like months, is able to produce such a comprehensive blueprint, providing you with solutions, not just the discussion of problems, but solutions, then you should know that this person with that team already shows you the capacity that Kofi Adams is talking about.
So I mentioned local
I'm saying-
governments. Local
No,
government, what
but-
you
but it's
want
good
to
to
do.
establish the perspective.
What you want to do
You see,
with local government, where
capacity-
election of MMDCs,
Yes.
where the president took a different view,
Yes.
despite surveys by CDD and co that suggest that over 70%, almost 80% of Ghanaians
Yes.
want the election of their MMDCs on non-partisan basis. You have gone for just that.
This is just the very essence of Alan Kyerematen's independent candidacy, non-partisan. If Alan is suggesting a non-partisan president, chief executive for the whole country, is it a big thing to suggest a non-partisan district chief executive? It just flows naturally. Do you understand? Now, what Alan is saying, which I believe we need to pay attention, is that we have come a very long way, 67 years of independence. We have practiced democracy, we have attempted one-party state, we have gone through several military regimes and so on, and now we are back to the Fourth Republic. In the Fourth Republic alone, we have had 32 years of party management, 16 years MPP, 16 years NDC. By the time the last NDC administration was leaving office, we had been taken to Doomsor and IMF. As we speak now, at the exit of the 16 years of NDC, MPP, we are left with Doomsor and IMF. Even though they call it a different name, Ghanaians know what it is. Now, I'm asking you, and I'm asking myself, and I'm asking all Ghanaians. So if 16 years, a party cannot show Ghanaians that we can get out of this mess and show us clearly how, and someone comes and says that, look, this is how, give me the mandate. And Alan is not just asking for the mandate. He has a track record, even as a private person, as only an ambassador, as only as a minister, not yet vice president, let alone president. Alan has shown what he can do. So to respond to your question directly now, the very essence of Alan's independent candidacy is justification enough for his support for independent, non-partisan district administrator. Now, what you find is that partisanship and the very negative aspect of partisanship is one of the biggest reasons why Ghana is where we are today.
So I'm looking at.
may agree or disagree
I'm
with
looking
me.
at the list of things you are seeking to
Yes,
do
yes.
in the governance area.
Yes. No,
And-
so
and
have I answered your question on
You have.
district
Yes, you have.
non-partisan?
You have.
Have
now,
I?
the major question.
Yes.
I think we may have to look for time and just sit down with you.
Yes.
You.
Yes,
As in
yes. I'll be
the
very-
movement for change and
Yes.
revolutionary
Yes.
change.
You have to buy the
alone
time.
Yes.
to dissect
Go through this.
your thing.
yes.
There are things that we can also say
Yes.
that you are seeking to, as it were, do for the sake of, I don't know how to describe it. You say you want an anti-corruption czar with independent prosecutorial authority. Special prosecutor has that.
Can I respond to you?
You say you want an award scheme for people who
Let's deal with-
blow the whistle on corruption.
Can we
We already have the Whistleblower Act,
we
except
deal-
that it's not being implemented, and the scheme for reward is not being implemented.
Okay. Let me go to the
Something
independent
like-
I'm
SAR.
coming. I'm coming. Just a
Let me go
minute.
to the
Yeah, I'll come
independent
to you.
SAR. Right now, the agencies that are mandated by law to deal with corruption, IOCO is one of them.
That's right.
OSP is the newest.
That's true.
the BNI, NIB, whatever, charge, even the police.
The police and Attorney General, they are the biggest.
They are all part of it. Now, what has happened? We sit here as Ghanaians and complain that we've set up institutions and either that we don't resource them properly or we find a way of undermining those same institutions, and so therefore the institutions become ineffective and redundant. So really, is it just good enough to have a litany of institutions littered all over the place and none of them is effective enough? Rather than consolidate both the law that establishes them, the mandate and the authority and the power that is given to these institutions, especially in terms of its independence.
So consolidation is central.
Consolidation is first, the legal consolidation, and then the institution.
Because of time, the final question I'll ask you before I come to them is this.
But I haven't.
You must win power. We have time. We don't have time.
Yes.
You must win power before you can do these lofty things.
That is right.
Have 60 ministers, scrap a council of
40
state.
ministers.
40 ministers. Sorry, 60 ministers is the NDC.
40.
And then Baumia is 50 ministers. Okay. Before you can do all of these things, you must win power.
Yes.
Including your...
Yes, we must win power. And we are working at that. As we speak now.
You must have a parliament where you have majority.
Yes. You don't seem to understand. We don't have a parliament which we or the president has majority. I think I have to drum this lesson or this idea back again. An independent president seeks to establish a government of national unity, non-partisan national unity. This is not a novelty that is not known to the world. In fact, in West Africa, it is happening. Next door, in Benin, it is happening. So it is not as if it is absurd to conceive of an independent president who cannot operate because he doesn't have members of parliament. Two, Alan's key proposal is that if we don't reduce the effect of bitter, divisive, destructive partisanship, Ghana's development forever and ever is going to be doomed. So this is a major, bold attempt at making sure that you have a president who can call on the best talents and resources from within parliament and outside of parliament. Right. And I'm just waiting, and I shudder really to think that Alan Kyerematen is independent president of Ghana. And he finds a very talented...
Unfortunately, we have run out of time, so let me come to them. Let me come to them for very brief comments.
Simply because
Atapoku Collins says that the duopoly has done their part, but unfortunately the failures outweigh the success. They have become too comfortable in moving the country to negative dimensions. It's time to change hands. GTP is the way to go. That's support for an independent presidential candidate. You guys must be scared. Yes, you.
Samson. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would want to correct this particular impression. Dr. Baumia is the only presidential candidate after his election on the 7th of February went and delivered his vision to the good people of Ghana. So to say that,
so I take it that
he has not put his manifesto. He has not put. It's not a manifesto. You don't call your own a manifesto because I heard on this show. Yes, you don't call your own a manifesto. So you have no interruptions. You have not produced. You have not produced any manifesto to the good people of Ghana. You are not in position to even call this document a manifesto. We have presented a vision, and it is the first. He's the first presidential candidate to present his vision to the good people of Ghana. Secondly, you are talking about Alan having track record. We all know, under President Kufuor, he was given what we call the presidential special initiatives. What has been the record of that particular...
Can I respond to that? Because
you guys have been excited about that. Anytime you raise that
I'm making my submissions.
I will let you talk.
Because you need to check the boxes to get to understand. Somebody has been given the platform.
I'm sorry, you have just a minute.
So you check yourself. You ask yourself under the presidential special initiatives, what was his track record? You check yourself when he was given the platform for the one district, one factory, what was his track record? You check yourself when he was given the ambassadorial job, what was his track record? You check yourself. If you check that vis-a-vis that of Vice President Bawumia, you would clearly see that Bawumia stands tall in terms of the governance system in this country. He's talking about fighting corruption. The biggest of fighting corruption is transparency. Transparency is the very key thing. And if you read clearly the vision of Dr. Bawumia, he said that he's going to increase transparency in terms of fighting corruption. He's going to bring Ghana closer to the cashless economy because he has been a digital person who has digitized the entire economy of this country. He says that he's going to encourage the population to use electronic channels of payment and also make sure that he publish online details of all public contracts. And this is going to help in fighting corruption. And if you look at the current trajectory, what we have done as government, looking at the special prosecutor, it is not all different from what they are talking about.
Okay.
It is just that some aspects needs to be implemented.
Kofi.
So there is nothing new that they are bringing on.
Let's hear Kofi.
Clearly, as I've said earlier, the Alan and his team decision to leave this corrupt,
an indictment of the MPP.
It's an indictment of MPP and Dr. Bawumia. They have clearly come to a conclusion that he's a total failure. He cannot achieve, he cannot do anything. And Boniface Abubakar Sadiq is that critical example of someone who was so close to him, who have known him and thought that he's a failure. But the proposition from them, like you said, are issues that are already out there. When you cite, for example, the local government...
We are looking for who will do them. That's what they are
well, but let me tell you, that's what I'm saying. When you cite the local government issue as an example...
What prevented the NDC as government from doing them?
When the MPP currently wanted to turn it partisan and political, we were the only people who spoke and opposed to it and suggested what they have written in this document.
Facts.
So I am telling you.
Facts.
So
I led the campaign against it.
And
fact is, let me tell you this, fact is, the NDC supported what the government had proposed.
And
it was later public opinion went against you, and then you changed.
No, Samson,
there's nothing wrong with changing your stance.
No, Samson. We were for and against the election at the very local level, turning it partisan. And that was why we argued that chiefs and all other persons who are bad from taking part in active politics are part of the local government system.
Yeah, but Samson, before we go
the Alan team didn't speak, but we spoke at that time. Yes. That is what I'm telling you. The only person, let me make my last point.
Right.
The only person in all this flow that has the experience in, out, and going in is John Dramani.
Thank you very much.
The one
let me give you this assurance. Let me give you this assurance. We will arrange and interrogate this your plan a lot more. Thank you very much. He spoke to the PSI, but he didn't speak to what was wrong. What wrong Alan did. This has been Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform.
I thought about successes.
And my outfit, as always, is by Kunati Clothing. They are at Adenta Shopping Center, Adenta Down. You can call them 0244 67.